All right, October 23rd. False Christs and false prophets and Adderall. I don't know when I wrote this. Shouldn't have been too long ago. I have no sense of time whatsoever. I just float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. It'd be nice to talk to somebody, out in America land where they're all comatose with there's pharmaceuticals or psychedelics or pot or caffeine highs or I've never seen so many happy people in my life while we're in a as one of the Irish MP said the other day, it's an abattoir of destruction that we're putting on over in the Ukraine, and nobody wants to say a single word about it, particularly because the media is always telling everybody how great everything is going. It's just fantastic. It's one lie after another piled on top of a confection of, you know, I don't know, natural foods, plant based foods, and the latest sex scandal, of course, the latest sex scandal where Hunter Biden in his undies selling his $500,000 digital painting that cost the same as a Monet original. But let's not talk, oh, that bribery, oh, it couldn't possibly be. Anyway, let me go back to Matthew 24:24 after my brief soliloquy. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. The war in Europe is predictably escalating along with the inflation that it's connected with and meant to distract everyone from. The entire world resembles an unmanned bullet train gathering speed as it's set to smash into the terminus. And what do we see in the American terminus today? Not the least sign that anything at all is amiss or even possibly amiss. Anger and rage have risen to astronomical levels in the 2 short years, the most corrupt administration in American history, along with the most corrupt Congress, have held complete power. I'll leave the judicial system out of it for this time. Yet, thanks to the miraculous hypnotic power of the American media monopoly with their false narrative, the working class in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, and I suppose wherever TVs run nonstop, are as quiescent as they always are when not engaged in rioting for peace in their downtown business districts. The catastrophic wreckage of an economy they'd spent 4 years trying to reduce to ashes in order to regain power was already in ruins when the Democrats finally took back the presidency from the evil usurper with orange hair. He's a fascist, don't you know? And he tried to run us an assault on the United States Congress with a bunch of yahoos. And if only he'd gotten his assault weapon and hadn't been wrestled to the ground, we'd now be living under a dictatorship of an orange hair man and a guy with a, buffalo helmet. Thank God that the Democrats have gotten this under control. It's all with this ridiculous boogeyman of global disaster that their programs aren't doing a single thing to address. Is there anyone with half a functioning brain cell that doesn't realize that the Obama administration, because this is the Barack, in case anybody hasn't noticed, the only person is Joe Biden and is Kamala Harris. The rest are retreads from the third Obama administration. It's all his select band of wonderful socialists bringing utopia and universal health care and jobs and building back America better. I just can't wait. Well, as soon as they've handed over billions of high tech weaponry and the names of our allies to the Taliban so they could be murdered, and had planned as far back as the Hillary Clinton campaign, where she was raving about the evil Russians on a daily basis, we're finally at war with Russia. Yay, team, yay. This has been planned for decades. If anybody, you know anything about this PNA, Project for a New American Century, actually, there's a man named Molotov that the Molotov cocktail is named after. And he's a Russian diplomat. And in 1954, he floated a peace plan to NATO that Russia would join NATO and it would be one big security pact. Russia has always wanted to be included in the West, but the United States objected. The United States does not want Russia because they are evil. They're evil communists. Who did the United States of America make a pact with? The Gestapo, the Nazis. Why? Because we and the Nazis have a common enemy. I'm just talking about history, folks. I mean, if it's going to curl any grandma's hairs out there, I can't do anything about that. But I'm a stickler for American history and world history and European history. So I just want to give a few reminders. You can look all this up in the book of records there on Wikipedia. Oh no, maybe not there, but I'll bet you can find the Molotov, the 1954 peace proposal with NATO, or the inclusion of the Soviet Union thereof. You see, we're always in a fight against communism unless it's American style communism. See, we don't want Soviet style communism. We want a Barack Obama style communism because that's the communism that works. I so hope that they win this election. I mean, I'm praying for a Democrat victory because I can't imagine what's going to happen if the Republicans take back Congress. It's just going to be it's just going to be too mind-boggling for my limited intelligence and my mentally ill Alzheimer's disease or combinations thereof. Plus, I've just taken some magic mushrooms, so I tend to rant a lot when I get on camera like this and get a chance to let it all hang out. What is largely being stockpiled is junk food, right? What is largely being stockpiled? Has anybody seen these MREs or Patriot Food or whatever? Go to Aldi and make sure you get lots of macaroni and cheese and whatever junk food people eat. And that's everybody, including me. I mean, I eat my fair share of junk food, but the notion that this is a healthy society in any way, shape, or form that's not descending into the finality of the Götterdämmerung that the Germans wore in the bunker with Hitler is not paying very much attention. They're watching, I don't know what they're watching. They're watching Star Trek reruns, for the most part. That's something that never gets old, along with William Shatner reciting his beatnik poetry and Leonard Nimoy's poems. You got to read those. They're the bestseller. They're on the bestseller list with the Stephen King novels. Anyway, anyone who can't see the writing on the wall that America is rapidly descending into a civil war with preppers, I love it, stockpiling food and weapons, and they're getting their preps, and they're getting their preps for the peeps, and organizing communities banded together to defend themselves from the coming invasion of Russia and China. Just you wait. Along with the militarized police, army, and National Guard, along with the armed drug gangs, everybody's ready. So bring it on, as George Bush would say. I mean, he's, as lunatic as this country is. Here's George Bush. He's told by God, who's the Pope in Rome, as he's explained, to invade Iraq with 34 other countries, because this is a fearsome foe. They don't have an air force or anything resembling it. So, boy, we better, shock and awe them to death before they have a chance to get their nuclear weapons and biological weapons in action. So we are here on the eve of destruction. I'm coming to you from the bunker. I'm just going to call this the bunker. I mean, William Burroughs had his bunker, and didn't Elliot Smith have his bunker, and Hitler had his bunker. Bunker Spreckle, you know who Bunker Spreckle is? That was a crazy person for you. That was Clark Gable's son or stepson. I won't go into that. Man, my mind is just a compendium of historical information and obscure esoteric research, hermetic research. That's why I know everything. I'm the amazing Bart. Ask me any questions. Believe me, I should wear a turban. I think if I came on with a turban, more people would pay attention. It's just that I lack a turban or some robes. I'll make sure to have my Sadhguru robes on, and I'll put my Sadhguru sunglasses on, and then I'll talk like he does about gun control. This guy's the biggest fraud out. Anybody following, and Sadhguru's background, just in case anybody isn't familiar with it, was as a leftist, Castro supporting Marxist. And he hasn't changed a bit because he's with the WEF at the moment. That's who he's an expert with, the WEF. If there's anybody who's definitely spiritually advanced and enlightened, it's people like Sadhguru and Noval, not the Nobel Prize, Noah Yuval Harari. Yeah, but go on. Really go on with your dance and dance, dance, dance to the music. Remember this song, The Electric Prunes? The Electric Prunes. Boy, do they come up with some great names or not? The bureaucratic preppies versus the preppers. That's the war here. The preppers and ex-military people, and then you have the people, the academics with their papers, the postmodernists studying genital studies. Yeah, and what sex they're going to, what names they're going to have for the new sexes. And versus the right wing Hell's Angels and bikers for Donald Trump and white supremacist MAGA people. It's pretty much it. I mean, I can't think of anybody else that lives in America that doesn't fit into one of those two categories. Maybe somebody can enlighten me. Maybe Sadhguru. Oh, there's the Sadhguru category. That's the enlightened ones with the Kundalini and the Freemasons and the Templars and the Rosicrucians, the rosy-cheeked Rosicrucians, the little rosy-cheeked Jesus, the cherubic, all the angels, the cherubs, the loving Father who loves us, just loves us all. I mean, he's showing us, he's going to show us lots of love because he's so pleased and he's so happy with his children in America that love him so much that they put on nonstop pageants mocking Jesus and Little Nas with his 666 human blood tennis shoes, and they're all Christians, of course. who isn't a Christian besides the Buddhists and the Hindus and the Muslims and the Mormons. Oh, but the Mormons are Christians. It's really hard for me to keep this all sorted out, this sordid debauchery sorted out. But I don't think with the sword that's, dripping blood and splattering all over Jesus's white garments in the second coming. Has anybody read the book of Revelation? You should check it out. It's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty awesome. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, except the evil are punished and sent to hell, and the others are given their reward in eternal paradise with God. If you believe that stuff, I don't know. It's kind of crazy stuff. But it does involve obedience, and it does involve prayer, and it does involve things like fasting and service, even though they'll tell you that you basically don't have to do anything but say a few words. Don't believe that, kids. You have to do more than that. You actually have to keep the commandments, because that's how you show you love God, just like Jesus said. And he never lied, because he's incapable of lying. The overpaid and useless government and teachers' unions who are unable to even teach basic reading, writing, and arithmetic skills they don't possess themselves. I had a kid who went through grade school, and believe me, the people teaching grade school and high school, they shouldn't be teaching. They couldn't have taught 30 or 40 years ago, I'll tell you that much. I grew up in Annandale, and I went to a high school in Annandale. The level of teaching ability and the education of the teachers themselves is infinitely higher than it is now. Now all you have to be is politically correct and teach the children that they can have whatever sexual identity they want, and that white people are evil and they're systemic racists, and that's what the Christian church is telling them. So you can only imagine. It's good to hear Timothy Keller this morning, Mr. Foucault, postmodernist himself, who teaches people how to pray. Let us all know that white people are systemically racist. Well, he should speak for himself. I'm not systemically racist, and I'm really tired of hearing this crap. When I've known so many racists in my life that are exactly the same people that are calling white people racist. There's plenty of black people who are racist with their kill whitey signs. What's that all about? There's plenty of race riots. Go to a prison. You think those people aren't racist? The gangs, your Latin gangs, your Hells Angels biker gangs, your black Crips and the Bloods, they aren't racist? Can I join the Crips? Can I join the Bloods? I mean, why don't we just knock it off and be real and say everybody's a racist? Then fine, I'm fine with that. But singling out this thing is just to pit people against themselves, against each other. Why isn't anybody speaking out? Why? Oh man, I could throw up at the Christian church. I tell you, I could throw up at they've always. I mean, virtue signaling is just out of control with these people. They'll just slobber all love all day. Oh, I'm not. We've got to just love everybody. Here, bring in Charlie Manson, and bring in the girls, and bring in the Hells Angels, and bring in just gang bangers and everything else. Bring in all the transgenders. Bring in all the. Oh, they've already got them. They've got the drag queens giving services, and they've got RuPaul's drag races with Nancy Pelosi excitedly clapping. Imagine what our enemies think of this. Boy, It's sure time to invade these people. They're as that's our idea of the freedoms we're defending. So soldiers are out there laying down their lives so you can have drag queen balls with your Congress people celebrating diversity. Why don't you suit them up? Okay, they want to be men, then get them out to a recruiting center and get them overseas to fight. We got a country to defend. All of them integrated loosely into churches and sports stadium with no leadership or direction at all. Who am I talking about? Who am I talking about? I'm talking about them. I'm talking about the American citizens at large. If I'm talking about you, I don't apologize. If I'm talking about uneducated ignoramuses teaching kids a bunch of rubbish, then I do not apologize to you for calling you who and what you are. Everybody else, that if the shoe doesn't fit, I don't see why they would be offended. But even if they are offended, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I long ago have given up caring about anything except the poor people who are suffering from all of this, who nobody is doing anything about, all over the streets that are drug addicted. And social work isn't doing anything. We need some kind of functioning society with a functioning Congress that cares about the working class. And a working class that cares about the working class. But that isn't going to happen. So sorry, I got a little bit upset. It would be nice to at least knock off the hypocrisy. What's largely being stockpiled, as I've said, is junk food, having very little nutritional value, on top of the fact that items like the white rice they're buying is grown in arsenic fields. Naturally, the FDA tells citizens that while white rice absorbs arsenic more readily than other crops, consumers can certainly eat rice as part of a well-balanced diet, quote unquote. The other part of the balanced diet will be plant-based insect burgers, health bars, and scrumptious dessert items which are natural and organic. The 6 different chemical carcinogen ingredients are all part of a well-balanced diet to go along with the arsenic-ridden rice. White rice has little nutritional value, but it does have less arsenic in it than the more nutritional valued brown rice. So you take your pick. More nutritive brown rice with a higher arsenic content, or less nutritive white rice with a lower arsenic content. Even more astounding is that they've believed with utter faithfulness whatever their celebrity pundits, political leaders, corporate press, so-called journalists, and invariably covered in medals and ribbons, Pentagon, CIA, and FBI tell them. As long as they have the ribbons and the PhDs and the degrees, or they've earned their awards by playing music or dancing cool at the Bohemian Lodge festivals, then who wants to hear from them? Maybe I'll pick up another subscriber if I insult enough celebrities. Of course, it's less astounding given the fact that they're daily poisoning themselves with the chemical, food, pharmaceuticals, and drugs that make them completely suggestible to the fantasy programming streaming into their addled by Adderall brains. The adder is a small, stocky snake preferring boggy swampland, quite common in the swampy surrounds of the Washington, D.C. area. That's why it's called the Swamp and Foggy Bottom. It's built on a swamp. So is Chicago, interestingly enough. These are swamp people in these swampy cities. Sodom and Gomorrah. Adders of all kinds, adder bites can be fatal, but usually the venom causes nausea, vomiting, pain, and fainting. These are the same symptoms that often overwhelm me when reading the swill coming out of the Washington Press Corps swamp, accompanied with its idiotic comedian class. I'm not a comedian. I know I'm hilariously witty when I'm reading this, but I don't find anything I say funny. I don't find anything anybody else says funny, because I wish people would look at what's going on in these wars, and also look at the fact that screaming and yelling and going out on the street every time there is the government you just voted for does exactly what anybody following their careers and what they have said we're going to do. Klaus Schwab has said, going back 3 years, that exactly what the World Economic Forum is doing. And you want to go to space. I mean, you want to go to space. All your money is going into space programs. All your money is going into war machinery. The space program is a Star Wars defense initiative. The space program is nothing but militarizing space. Anybody that thinks that Americans, what, do you think you're going to really be going up to the Mars colony? Who's going to be going up to the Mars colony? Oh, because the planet's going to be made uninhabitable because everybody has to have their recreational vehicles to get in and go out to Burning Man and have it all fully outfitted and retrofitted. And then protest there being people fracking and having an oil industry. I mean, does anybody have a brain functioning in this community of let's kill all the beef, let's get rid of all the protein, let's have bug food, let's get rid of all the oil, and we'll have uh, these big recreational vehicles that get 4 miles per gallon, and make them our mobile homes, and then not have any gas to run them because they don't run on electric power. I guess it's just me that thinks through these things. They're really complicated. Oh, well, 28 minutes. This is the way this is the way I enjoy myself in the evenings. It's just me talking to the Holy Spirit. That's all. I like to joke around. We just kick the ball back and forth because there's nobody else to kick it. Which humorous chemist, I wonder, came up with the name Adderall? Adderall is given to children by these sadists, meaning their parents, in combination with their so-called healthcare provider. Yeah, everybody's profiting mightily from this, except the children being given methamphetamine, which is what Adderall and Ritalin are. Who gives children methamphetamine exactly? They concentrate. Yeah, they concentrate. They get their little, they're off to town. But the parents don't have, they don't have to worry about it. At least they're not running around outside playing. Does anybody hear what I'm saying? I mean, is there anybody having the same experience I am? This has been a long time coming, and I've been shouting about it for 30, 40 years now to the arts community that just, I mean, if you're not out there jacking off to the latest electronic game app, or in a cyber helmet, then you're just not with it. You're really out of it. Yeah, I guess I'm out of it. I'm well out of it. So it's all these medications are covered, of course, by the compassionate Obama bombery, I like to call him Bomber Boy. Oh, Bomber is what he was called by the left. I don't know, remember the left? Back there in the anti-war period, as soon as they were finished with the war period, and then they went back to the anti-war period. The scheme, and Hillary Care is Obamacare. It's just a big giveaway for the pharmaceutical companies. Everybody that doesn't know that, I'm astounded, really. I have to say, I'm just astounded by the left. There couldn't be more brainless people anywhere on the planet, except for the Republicans. Sorry, but I'm an equal opportunity offender. The scheme isn't hard to figure out. You addict children who are simply hyperactive because of overstimulation by caffeine and nonstop digital streaming on the screen to a drug which leaves them permanently addled, just like the parents and healthcare providers are. Of course, you warn them that regular use of Adderall changes the structures of the brain and the way emotions are regulated. It's right on the description by the FDA that thoughtfully puts it there. And how are the structures of the brain changed? By feeding the brain as much emotionally violent and sexualized material that it can receive, particularly when it's growing and learning. Because that's what gives children's little brains pleasure. And brain circuitry is created by the dopamine, by the pleasure chemicals. That's why people like cocaine. That's why they like gambling. These are all things that you're not supposed to do if you're a Christian. You're not supposed to do them if you're a Buddhist. You're not supposed to do them if you're a Hindu. But not with today's Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, Mormon, psychotic religionists that think that somehow all you have to do is talk a lot of bullshit, a lot of religious bullshit, and then give kids as much drugs and change their sex or whatever, and everything's going to be just super utopian. I know what I'm saying is having no effect whatsoever, but it just gives my brain pleasure to be able to say it. And hopefully there might be one person, if I can change one person's mind about going down that bullshit road of Michael Pollan with how to change your mind by taking a lot of hallucinogenic drugs. Yeah, it's really going to change Michael Pollan's mind is already blown, but I don't know where he got it blown. But I can only imagine, when you have those kind of big paychecks, then you're ready to write a book telling people that it works for people without PTSD bullshit. It works no more on people with PTSD than alcohol or anything else works on people with PTSD. There's nothing that works on people with PTSD because this society is PTSD. You get up in the morning and you've got PTSD. I mean, if you're living in Ukraine, you're living anywhere with the bombs going off, you've got PTSD. And if you're so numb you can't even absorb that, you've got PTSD from your video games where you're playing them, blowing people's brains off and out and up. Or you're watching a Scorsese film when it's all going on. I mean, the one thing I counsel, I think anybody want to take the test, go for a week without watching violent movies and see what happens to your brain. I mean, turn it all off. Don't listen to any of the music. Simply take off the headphones. I mean, you'll still hear the crap go, routinely wherever you go for a restaurant. Or if you go out, don't go to a restaurant then because you've got the TVs and everything else going. So what's more pleasurable than the thrilling fear of global warming and people dying, along with true crime murders, mafia movies, disaster films, hilarious sex comedies of the most revolting kind possible? Yeah, all the farting and the shitting and the pissing and the, every kind of toilet humor imaginable with the dick jokes and the pussy jokes and And that's for third graders. That's what gets them, tuned up to be in a completely decadent society and make their uh, living in entertainment. So start twerking right away. This is called a Jeremiah ad, incidentally, because that's the prophet Jeremiah. I could read from some Jeremiah, but I'll let you do that yourself. I really suggest somebody read Jeremiah, read the whole book of Jeremiah. He's got it nailed down. I'm also living the Jeremiah life. That's the Jeremiah life where nobody listens to a word you say and they just go right on with the pleasure cruise. Naturally, the solution to all this is to bankrupt the middle class by funding unwinnable wars that are entered into without even the approval of Congress, since that might alert the handful of citizens who might show up to protest against it. Should they not be too busy playing video war games or enlisting to join the other mercenaries fighting in Ukraine, Poland, or what other country the American media turns their attention to as needing to have an evil dictator stopped from interfering with our luxury lifestyles, playing video games and watching TV. Can you follow that run-on sentence? I really, I'm not a Hemingway. I'm more like a Marcel Proust. He liked to write those long sentences. You get lost in them. It's like a dream. Like he wakes up and he's having a dream. It's within a dream, and the reality, and he's in his bed and he takes the Madeleine and he remembers back to his life in gay Paris as one of the gay bonhomie and bohemian circles of aristocrats with all their loves and delicate feelings and taste. And it's just fabulous, just fabulous. That impressionism, I just love that. When I was in art school, everybody hated the impressionists. The worst crap in the world was impressionism. It was all soft and gooey and, triacal. It was like, who wants to look at that? And the teacher said it was, when you look at it, it all becomes an optical gray. That, but of course they were painting all gray paintings, so maybe they saw everything as optical gray. And they were wearing all black and black boots and black leather jackets, just like Lou Reed. That was the time of Andy Warhol. And that was also in the punk years. I don't think black leather and vinyl and whips and chains, I don't think they've ever gone out of fashion since the Marquis de Sade. At least the whips and chains. I don't know about the Marquis de Sade. Was he wearing black leather? Why not? By boots made of Spanish leather. Yeah, well, I was in art school, so I had a leather jacket for a couple of years there. It was all torn up because I don't take very good care of my outfits. So I think these are kind of pulling up. I'm not running around wild in the streets. But I look back on that period with horror. I don't know why so many other people have this nostalgia for it. I don't have any nostalgia for it. It was a horrible time for me. It was, that's not my pleasure area, is the orgy scene or the sex scene. And there's this disintegration of the society that I grew up in. So I didn't know anything that was remotely could be considered a normal, Christian or organized religion childhood. So I was right into LSD and into Buddhism and Hinduism and going completely insane since I have Asperger's syndrome, since I'm autistic. And that's what my parents didn't understand, God bless them. But yeah, that's an autistic child growing up in a working class neighborhood is like living in excitement and terror at the same time, because you don't have any idea what normal is other than people screaming at each other and beating the shit out of each other, and the priests, back then it was all fire and brimstone, plus they were abusing, sexual abuse was rampant in the Catholic Church. There was a church in the diocese in Baltimore, just right, a couple hours drive, where the uh, bishop was raping his school children, and a nun, none of the other nuns said anything. Nobody else said anything, and a nun found out about it, and she was going to have him. She went to the police. He was on all the corrupt police department, corrupt politicians, everything else. He had this nun murdered, contract killers murdering a nun. Nobody says anything. Finally, some people were able to get it investigated, but he still didn't. They get away with it. I mean, they don't get away with it ultimately. They go to hell, and their later life is tortured. But just like with the mafia, they can get, Whitey Bulger, you get away with it for years and years and years with the help of the FBI, incidentally, and the Catholic Church. Boston is all Irish Catholic politicians, and his brother was the mayor, Whitey Bulger's mother. So, mother. There I go again. It is that it's the mother, like Ma Barker. There's always, like Tony Soprano's mother, there's always the castrating mother, to quote Sigmund Freud, since that he's the one who should know about it, that is behind this kind of young Guns or young Dillinger or young whomever. It's the narcissism. What's being shown in The Sopranos is narcissism. What's being shown in all this Hollywood stuff, Warren Beatty, narcissism is Bonnie and Clyde, Dunaway, narcissism, romantic narcissists in love with guns and bullets and roses and rosé and Stairway to Heaven kind of narcissism. All right, let's say that maybe I'll continue this tomorrow because it's going on so long that I'm so interested in the conclusion, though. Because I was about to start with one about the narcissism of the Buddhist community in Boulder, and the beat poets, the Jack Kerouac School for Disembodied Poetics, and the whatever incarnation of the Dalai Lama and the sexual game playing they got up to there. As a contrast, there's always this concentration, like I just went through, on the Catholic Church being filled with corruption and pedophilia and sex slavery is what it is, because they break these kids in and they're never the same. I mean, it's a horrific thing that this society doesn't just tolerate. It's practically the only thing we stand for at this point is for covering up people like Bill Clinton that run or the Kennedys, Jack Kennedy, and the media covered that up the whole time. Where is there a moral compass left in America? I don't know. I'm looking and looking, like Diogenes, looking for an honest man. I'm looking for somebody with a moral compass, and I'm not finding any in the Catholic and the Christian community and the Eastern religious community, because for me, Jesus was about nonviolence, and he was about not making war. And while certain people have said that, I mean, they use the language. It doesn't. It wasn't a Gandhi. The civil rights idealism evaporated really rapidly after the first resistance with nonviolence. That was the heroic period of it. But then it went rapidly down into the violence of the left. But the seed for it was there, like everywhere else, and that's a whole other story. Because Martin Luther King was a deist; he wasn't a Christian. If in the terms that I view Christianity, which is to believe in the resurrected Christ, King didn't believe in the resurrected Jesus Christ. It's in his writings. So there are all kinds of problems with American Christianity that come to a head in the Civil War period, after starting in the Revolutionary War period with the Founding Fathers not being Christians, a deist, not being Christian in the sense of Jesus Christ in the first century, in the sense of the Bible, in the sense of the Old Testament and New Testament. They, that's where modernism and the Enlightenment is. This is its denouement. And so God bless everyone, and may you come out of this Babylon. That's what I always emphasize, is that there's only one way out of this madhouse, and that's through Jesus Christ, and that's through putting down the weapons, putting down the hate, putting down the anger, putting down the rage, putting down the self-willed and self-empowerment and all of that stuff, which is cascading now into its final solution. And the solution that the NWO have in mind is one of hundreds and hundreds of millions of people dying, and that's what's going to happen. So that's just the reality of it.